You know how I know that video was my purpose is because it's been 5 years, crazy to even say that, since I was like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna try to be a filmmaker and video again, and I still enjoy it. Like most things you get bored of. And yes, there's been my times where I was uninspired and where I was uninspired or had times where I didn't want to do any. But I think that had more to do with my dopamine receptors being fried.
4 years ago, I made a video called something along the lines of, we have to stop letting things get in the way of our dreams. 4 years later, I've came back out to the very same place where I recorded that video, and I sat in my car and I vented. I remember kind of the same headspace I was at when I made that video. I feel like I've kind of returned to that place, but I'm almost in a different place. I've returned to this place in my life where I understand that there's really only one way forward. And not only that, but I realize the importance of remaining present in the moment and also not consuming my life away. A lot of Gen Z, a lot of the Gen Z millennial generation, a lot of us, we live in a time and an age where we grew up without technology and then technology was introduced to us. We are definitely in a time, especially in 2024, where technology has become pretty much the end all be all for the way that we live our lives. And we don't even realize it, but technology, distractions, overstimulation, all the different things that are stealing our time, our attention, and giving us this fake, synthetic version of pleasure that is stealing our life, that is stealing our fulfillment, that's stealing our very sense of actually being alive, not existing, but living. We need to be extremely careful about the way that we're spending our time. We need to be more intentional about protecting our time. One of the biggest dangers about living in the day and age that we live in is the fact that we don't even realize that our dopamine receptors are being drained and damaged. We don't even realize that our very drive, the very thing that makes us feel alive and makes us want to get up in the morning and feel fulfilled, want to have a conversation with somebody that you know, want to go out and be outside and just be in nature and take a walk, is being stolen from us. Things that were being sold from mainstream media, things were being sold from YouTube and Instagram and these social media platforms that convince us that we're supposed to be happy by getting on these platforms. And if you're not intentional about the reason why you're on these platforms, if you're not intentional about the way that you're spending your time nowadays, and if you allow yourself to just be blindly directed, led astray by social media, Netflix, and the distractions that take away from your real calling, from your real purpose, you're gonna realize really quickly how fast life can just slip away from you, right from underneath your feet, and you don't even realize. There's a Bible verse that goes, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." It's so easy for us to just live day after day, not being intentional, not realizing, even if we're trying to be intentional, we don't realize the time that's slipping away from us. You let your guard down for a little bit, maybe get into a slump in life, things are going rough, or maybe you get into a headspace where you don't exactly have the clarity, have the focus that keeps you away from distractions and keeps you away from things that are pulling at your time. Before you know it, it's all slipped away because our attention is being pulled in multiple different directions by things that don't really matter at the end of the day. One of the biggest ways that our lives are being quite literally stolen from us is the synthetic pleasures that are making us feel content with really what was never for us. Synthetic pleasures that's making us feel content with something that is so minuscule in comparison to the life that you're supposed to live. You're being drained and you're being quite literally numbed out with things that are not even very important. Think about how you feel after spending a whole day or spending a few hours scrolling on Instagram or going from video to video to video on YouTube. You might feel distracted for a bit, you might feel comfortable for a bit, but think about as that goes on for longer and longer. You come to a place where you feel numb, you feel drained, you feel like, why did I just spend all that time watching a bunch of videos or scrolling on Instagram? And if that truly made us feel good, quite literally think about this. If the very things that make us feel comfortable, if we're trying to run away from fears, escape our daily lives, if those things truly made you feel good, if these synthetic pleasures that we've been sold and fed to make us feel like it actually is something worth spending our time on, if those were really good for you, if they were really good for you, why do you feel empty as soon as you're done doing it? Why do you feel numb after it's all said and done? The reason for this is because you are existing you're not really living. You may not even realize it, but overconsumption has left your dopamine receptors so damaged and so drained that you don't even realize that the daily pleasures in life don't even hit the same anymore.
As the fishes that are taken in an evil net, as the bird that is caught in a snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time when it falleth suddenly upon them. Stop acting like you have all this time. Stop acting like the people you love have all this time.
In order for us to have the motivation or have the joy in life to move anywhere, we need to have a healthy reward system in the brain. We need to have healthy dopamine receptors. Dopamine is responsible for a lot more than just feeling good. It's forward movement. There's been experiments on animals where when their dopamine receptors are damaged and when they have been drained of a healthy reward system functioning the way it should, they don't move anywhere. They will starve and not make a move. They will stay exactly where they're at. Instant gratification has taken away the most fulfilling things in life, your purpose, your mission, the pursuit and enjoyment of the journey rather than just getting the reward right away. And without it, life has no meaning. Social media has destroyed our ability to stay present in the moment. The reason why little kids, the reason why it was so magical when you were a child on the playground with your friends, why, when you would lay down on the grass and just look up at the clouds and just really take life in. The reason why that used to hit so different compared to where you're at right now in your life is because you were genuinely present in the moment. You were genuinely enjoying your life. You weren't thinking about yesterday. You weren't thinking about that bill or that job that you gotta go get or that resume you have to complete or that career that you're trying to chase. You weren't thinking about any of that. You were in the moment. When our attention spans have been just completely destroyed by doom scrolling on Instagram, by the overstimulation not allowing you to be able to focus because your brain is looking for that next hit, when you can't sit down and enjoy where you're at, you quite literally lose the ability to live life because life happens in the moment that you're at. You're in and that you're living through. One of the reasons why you feel so great when you're, say for us creatives, when we're doing a passion of ours and you hit that flow state's where you just become one with the thing that you're doing. The reason why you feel so good in that moment is because your brain, your thoughts, you're not in any other place but where you're at in that moment doing what you love best. That's why you feel so fulfilled. That's why it feels so good. And you feel one with what you're doing. That's why children are so happy. They're so full of life. They're in the moment enjoying what you're doing, and overstimulation has left you distracted. It's left you drained. You don't realize how much of life you're losing and how much of life you're missing out on. You're here physically, but you're not here mentally. You're not here spiritually. You're somewhere locked away in your mind, almost as a third party in your own existence.
Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Stop wasting time watching other people win, thinking that you're winning.
There is a Bible verse that tells us, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This verse encourages living in the present moment and trusting God to take care of us. We don't realize how important living in the moment is. A lot of us take that verse and we think about how we feel like God is telling us to not worry about tomorrow because there's enough problems for today, which is true. But I also think that verse is so important because it's reminding us that remaining present in the moment is already enough of a struggle and is already one of the most important things that we need to remain focused on and engulfed in. We haven't been taught how to make our intentions the focus of our lives rather than our distractions. These social media companies, these big tech companies, have curated your social media feed, have curated the videos that you watch, your algorithm, specifically to distract you and steal time from you. Especially after the pandemic, a lot of us have lost our ability to have genuine human connection, to know what it's like to be fully engulfed in a conversation with somebody. I'm not saying you can't enjoy vices like playing video games and being on social media. I'm not even saying that social media is all bad. It would be crazy to paint it with such a broad stroke. honestly, for me, the older I get, the more I understand the irreplaceable value of human connection and having a genuine conversation. You can't replicate that over a Zoom call. You can't replicate that through Instagram, through Facebook. You can't replicate that through any sort of screen. Being in the world, being present, the things that we've already been given. We don't even realize that most of the time, the things we've already been given, the things we've been born with are some of the most irreplaceable, the most valuable things that we have in our lives. And usually we don't start to realize that until they're gone. You don't get human interaction and that genuine flow in experience when you're truly connecting with somebody, when you genuinely feel like this is a divine flow with this person that you're having a conversation with. You don't exactly get that through this digital world that we've been fed, that we've been sold. The moments that you're really gonna remember is where you were sitting down in your car with that person that you really love, or with that person that you just met, or with a family member, genuinely having a good time. It would be a painful thing to look back and realize you spent all the moments you had when you were with those you loved, being a body located near them, but not actually enjoying their presence. Social media isn't all bad, I said that already, but it can very easily derail your life and derail the direction that you were trying to go in. It makes you forget. You can get on there trying to do one thing, you can get on there, with something in your heart and in your mind to get something done, and then all of a sudden you don't realize you just spent all this time and you've been distracted. And it's curated and it's programmed that way. And it's important for us, especially the Gen Z, the millennial generation, that we pay attention and are really just protecting our minds, man. It's a minefield right now. I think a lot of us are starting to wake up and realize how important it is to actually be in the real world. I think a lot of us are realizing that these platforms, if not used with the right mindset, with the right intention, can be the very gateway, the very portal to destroying your life and to stealing your time.
Well, the time seems to go fast.